What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so you guys remember the whole episode with the Alien Enemies Act and Judge Boasberg and all that freaking stupid nonsense? Yeah, I'm sure you guys remember all that, right? So what basically happened is the Supreme Court stepped in and said, Daddy's gonna come in and relegate everything right quick. Okay, Boasberg, you had no authority to make this ruling whatsoever. So the Supreme Court brought everything back, said, Trump administration, you can go ahead and use the Alien Enemies Act, but we need habeas hearings, which, in my opinion, is ridiculous because that, to me, is amending the Constitution, and I'm pretty sure that the judicial branch is not the legislative branch, and they're not supposed to amend the Constitution, but hey, it is what it is. Checks and balances and all, I guess. However, they did drop it back down to the lower courts to be litigated. Could the administration use the Alien Enemies Act, and so on and so forth. And now we finally have a judge's ruling, as a matter of fact. And guess what, folks? Judge bars deportation of Venezuelans from South Texas under Alien Enemies Act. Oh, and you're going to love the excuses, y'all. You're going to love these reasons. They're insane. A federal judge on Thursday barred the Trump administration from deporting any Venezuelans from South Texas under an 18th century wartime law and said President Donald Trump's invocation of it was unlawful. U.S. District Court Judge Fernando Rodriguez Jr. is the first judge to rule that the Alien Enemies Act cannot be used against people who, the Republican administration claims, are gang members invading the United States. So this is where we're at in this country, where a judge says that these people that came across our border illegally, an organized gang that has been characterized and labeled as a terrorist organization, must remain inside the country, regardless if they've committed a crime or not. Talk about activism at its worst. This is insane, y'all. It really is. Oh, and the excuses, like I said, are wild. Neither the court nor the parties question that the executive branch can direct the detention and removal of aliens who engage in criminal activity in the United States, wrote Rodriguez, who was nominated by Trump in 2018. Once again, folks, that doesn't mean he's not an activist judge. But the judge said, the president's invocation of the AEA through the proclamation exceeds the scope of the statute and is contrary to the plain, ordinary meaning of the statute's terms. Now, wow is what I would say to that, because I've read the Alien Enemies Act a couple of times on this channel, and that language to me is plain and is contrary to what is being stated here. It absolutely is. In March, Trump issued a proclamation claiming that Venezuelan gang Tren de Aragua was invading the U.S. He said he had special powers to deport immigrants identified by his administration as gang members without the usual court proceedings. Yes, they don't get usual court proceedings. It's insane, y'all. It really is. The court concludes that the president's invocation of the AEA through the proclamation exceeds the scope of the statute and, as a result, is unlawful, Rodriguez wrote. There was no immediate comment from the White House. Yeah, but was there a comment? Not immediately. I can't stand the corporate press, y'all. The chairman of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Rep. Adriano Espaillat, said in a statement the judge had made clear what we all knew to be true. Well, who is all, by the way? Because that I don't agree. The Trump administration illegally used the Alien Enemies Act to deport people without due process. No, you know what the due process is? Are you an American citizen? That's it. That's the due process. That is what you are due. That is the process by which you are due. Are you an American citizen? Yes or no? That's it. If yes, we apologize, go on about your day. If no, then come with me, by the way. Like, what is this idea that all of a sudden You come into a country illegally, then all of a sudden we have to go to court and work this out. What is there to work out? What are your arguments in court? Like, seriously. Now, I understand. I've been thinking about the Supreme Court's ruling about the Alien Enemies Act, amending the Alien Enemies Act to have a habeas hearing. Now, I get it. Look, you want to make the assertion that these people might not be in a gang. Well, that's kind of hard to prove. It's kind of hard to prove either way. It's hard to prove you're not in a gang, but it's also hard to prove that you are in a gang. Right? Because even if you get caught doing crimes, that doesn't prove a damn thing, in my opinion. So, that's fair, to be honest with you. The Supreme Court saying habeas hearings for all these people is honestly fair. But, do we live in a country where we want to be safe? That's all I'm saying. Get these people out of here. I don't care if it's fair at this point. If we know these people are in the country illegally, do they deserve to be here for some reason? No, they don't. So by what process do we give them to allow them to stay here? That's very, very unfair to everybody. Everybody that either has a visa, green card, or is trying to become a citizen the legal way, in other words. It's very unfair to these people because they're trying to cheat the system. They're trying to do an end run around that system. And these judges are propping this nonsense up by keeping them here for some freaking reason. Right? If these people haven't committed any crimes and they're not American citizens and you want to keep them here for habeas hearings that might take months, they're going to be detained for that entire time. That to me is unconstitutional, for goodness sakes. Because now these people, if they haven't committed another crime on top of coming into the country illegally, now they're being detained unlawfully, in my opinion. And we're not going to let these people go. They're not supposed to be in the country. It really is insane. It's an impossible situation. But once again, folks, a judicial coup d'etat. The Alien Enemies Act has only been used 3 times before in U.S. history, most recently during World War II when it was cited to intern Japanese Americans. So what? That doesn't matter because it's only been used 3 times. Do you think that matters? Do you think the founders put it into the Constitution to say, oh, well we're only going to use this 3 times? No, of course not. It's stupid. The proclamation triggered a flurry of litigation as the administration tried to ship migrants it claimed were gang members to a notorious prison in El Salvador. Rodriguez's ruling is significant because it is the first formal permanent injunction against the administration using the AEA and contends the president is misusing the law. Congress never meant for this law to be used in this manner, said Gerlant, the ACLU lawyer who argued the case in response to the ruling. I happen to disagree with that. Of course this guy is going to say that. He is working on the other side. He wants these criminals in the country for some freaking reason. I don't understand Democrats, once again, getting on the side of criminals. They want these people to just run free in the country, which is completely insane and devoid from reality. Rodriguez agreed, noting that the provision has only been used during the 2 world wars and the War of 1812. Trump claimed Tren de Aragua was acting at the behest of the Venezuelan government, but Rodriguez found that the activities the administration accused it of did not amount to an invasion or predatory incursion as the statute requires. Is that so, Judge Rodriguez? Well, then how the hell do you explain this? Tren de Aragua invading and taking over apartment complexes in the United States. You mean to tell me that's not a predatory incursion? These people preying on innocent civilians, robbing them, killing them, doing all kinds of other unspeakable actions to American citizens is not predatory? My guy, Just because Trump nominated these judges doesn't mean that they didn't game the system somehow and cheat the system, and they're not activists these days. It's insane. The proclamation makes no reference to and in no manner suggests that a threat exists of an organized armed group of individuals entering the United States at the direction of Venezuela to conquer the country or assume control over a portion of the nation, Rodriguez wrote. Is that so? Do you not consider an apartment complex a portion of the nation? I can break these people's logic down all freaking day long when it comes to Tren de Aragua and MS-13 and all of these. Right, so what? Does it matter that it's not at the behest of Venezuela? At the behest of Maduro? And once again, this is a Republican judge, supposedly a Trump nominee, making conclusory statements about something he has no freaking clue took place. He does not know that these people did not invade the United States at the behest of the Venezuelan government. He does not know this. Now, to be fair about that, the Trump administration does not know that Tren de Aragua, MS-13, any of these gangs invaded the United States at the behest of the Venezuelan government. Neither party knows this, but that does not give the judge the right to make conclusory statements about something we have no idea about the fact of the matter. Blows my freaking mind. Thus, the proclamation's language cannot be read as describing conduct that falls within the meaning of invasion for purposes of the AEA. Once again, folks, under this judge's logic, I guess, you could have a rogue element of the Mexican military break away and come into the United States, take over apartment complexes, take over freaking neighborhoods. That's not a predatory invasion. We could have the cartels, for goodness sakes, come in to this country and start buying up police officers, getting jobs as police officers, blah, 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 taking over apartment, you name it. Under his logic, that's not a predatory invasion of this country. It's insane. It has to be an organized military at the behest of that country for it to be a predatory invasion, for goodness sakes. That makes absolutely no sense. It really doesn't, y'all. If the administration appeals, it would go first to the New Orleans-based Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals. That is among the nation's most conservative appeals court, and it has also ruled against what it saw as overreach on immigration matters, both by the Obama and Biden administrations. Now, what that statement was meant to do, and, it's an opinion statement, kind of, because what that is meant to do is, it's talking about, it always rules against government overreach. But hang on, that was by the Obama and Biden administration. What were they doing? In those cases, Democratic administrators had sought to make it easier for immigrants to remain in the U.S. Oh, that's what it was. So something totally different than what we have going on right here. So why did the corporate press decide to include this information in this news article? Makes you wonder, don't it? Could they be trying to sow a narrative? The administration, as it has in other cases challenging its expansive view of presidential power, could turn to appellate courts, including the U.S. Supreme Court, in the form of an emergency motion for a stay pending an appeal, which it will most certainly do. It probably has already done this. The Supreme Court already has weighed in once on the issue of deportations under the AEA. The justices held that migrants alleged to be gang members must be given reasonable time to contest their removal from the country. The court has not specified the length of time. That is not true. That is a false statement coming from the Associated Press. What that was meant to do and what the Supreme Court stated was that, yes, it gives them time to contest that they're gang members, not whether they can stay in the country or not. These people love lying about every freaking thing. If you come into this country illegally, you have zero rights to stay in this country. Zero. There is no process by which you go to court to fight over your right to stay in this country. That does not exist, folks. these people only go to court for asylum claims. If you break into this country, you get kicked out of this country. Now, what they are going to court over is whether they can be shipped to CECOT, because that's where Trump is bringing these people. And the fear is innocent people getting, just innocent people that came across that southern border illegally will be shipped to another country, to a prison, and they haven't committed any crimes. That's the issue. It's not whether they can stay in the country or not. The Democrats and the corporate press love lying about everything, and it pisses me off. The court has not specified the length of time. It's possible that the losing side in the Fifth Circuit would file an emergency appeal with the justices that would also ask them to short-circuit lower court action in favor of a definitive ruling from the nation's highest court. Such a decision likely would be months away at least. The Texas case is just one piece of a tangle of litigation sparked by Trump's proclamation. The ACLU initially filed suit in the nation's capital to block deportations. U.S. District Judge James E. Boasberg issued a temporary hold on removals and ordered the administration turn around planes that had left with detainees headed to El Salvador, a directive that was apparently ignored. Later, the Supreme Court weighed in. The justices stepped in again late last month with an unusual post-midnight order halting deportations from North Texas, where ACLU contended the administration was preparing for another round of flights to El Salvador. Yeah. Once again, so what? And they did do that, and they halted everything, which is stupid in my opinion. Like, this is one of those things. How do you prove somebody is, right? You don't need to actually prove that they're in a gang or not. But like with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, we saw the tattoos on his fingers, right? We saw the skull and the marijuana leaf and blah, blah, blah. We saw that. That supposedly means MS-13. All right, then we have two judges, an immigration judge and a panel of judges, which is a 3-judge panel for the Immigration Appeals Court of judges, that said that they believed a witness, as a matter of fact, an undercover that was embedded in MS-13 to root out MS-13 gang members, that testified that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was in MS-13, and that was enough for those judges to be convinced. They need reasonable doubt. They need reasonable doubt washed away. That's enough to wash away reasonable doubt. For me. And for those judges, apparently. That's how you prove it. That's proof enough, in my opinion. It's just insane, y'all. Oh, they gotta prove they're gang members to be deported. Oh my goodness. It really is nuts. This is all semantic nonsense. Because once again, Donald Trump could just deport these people through different means, through the regular deportation process. But no, expedited removal. That's what he wanted, to get these people out, because he promised mass deportations. And now these non-governmental organizations are doing everything, and judges are doing everything they can to keep criminal aliens in the country. And in some cases, to keep hardened freaking criminals in the country. And for what? What is the reason behind this? Oh, so they can get their day in court? Laughable. Laughable. Make it make sense to me. Why do people that break into our country, right? Think about this for a second. If somebody breaks into your house, you call the cops. They're just meandering around your house. Do you think the cops come in and then see the guy in there and then call a judge and say, hang on just a second, and then have this entire court proceeding with this guy meandering around in your house to get this guy? No. They come in and they arrest this guy, bring him to jail, and then he goes to court. But so they get him out of your house. That's the same situation we have going on here, except what these judges are doing. You have a guy break into your house unlawfully, right? Because he didn't have permission to come into your house. And that's exactly what's going on. You called the cops, and they said, well, hang on, we got to set up a court date. That's what we have going on here. Oh, we got to prove this guy's a criminal before we can get him out of your house. How much sense does that make, folks? Somebody please make it make sense for me down in the comments section. Like, if somebody knows about immigration law better than I do. I don't know a whole hell of a lot, but I have read good bits of the Constitution around immigration. Don't make sense to me, but hey, it is what it is. Y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.